hadn't really planned on starting with that or even playing it that long, but got a lot of really fun stuff has been running through my mind lately, and I'll tell you a lot about it. Probably more than you're going to want to know. It's probably going to go on for too long. I'm going to try to keep this to the usual 15 to 20 minutes. But it is September 20, what do we got? The 26th. And, last Friday in September. We'll be into October next year. I have a couple of, I got this on my mind today. I'll get more into this in a little while. I'll tell you why. But first, I have some, bad, but silver lining news about our camps. First of all, I just came back from camp last week and had a blast as usual. It was really fun connecting with students, some of whom have been to like 13 or 14 camps, and then of course our usual staff of Doug and Jim, Mike and Dave, and. Been thinking a lot about Mike in particular because I met Mike back in 1968. I was 12 years old, and it was at summer camp just a mile or so away from where we do the camp now. At the Green Mountain Retreat is just a little bit beyond where Mike and I were part of the musical scene at Echo Mountain Ranch as kids. And one of the things that we did there a lot, I guess I'll get to the bad news first and then I'll get to the good news, and then I'll tell you, I'll finish this story first, maybe. This is going to ramble for a while. But, when I met Mike and a couple of other guitar players there, we spent a lot of time, not so much that year, it was the next year, it was 1969 when I was 13. All kinds of things happened then. I remember one really vivid memory of camp that year was they brought out a TV. We'd never been able to watch TV at camp, but it was to watch Neil Armstrong step on the moon. So I can pin that down because I remember seeing that on TV at camp in the lunchroom patio in July of '69, I believe that was. And but the other thing that really developed at camp was Mike and I spent a lot of time playing that song, Down by the River, for hours on end, figuring out what notes sounded good in the lead, and it's just over two simple chords, E minor 7 and A7 basically, and finding notes that could work. Now we never did really. I think we'd figured out that little lick, and this. We spent a lot of time where one of us would just strum the chords, maybe in a couple different places, maybe as bar chords, the E minor 7 up the neck, to the A7, and experimented with leads. Finding notes that worked and notes that didn't work. And it was interesting because we always thought notes in the key of E minor would work here. And that's not true, because the song's not in the key of E minor. In the key of E minor, we wouldn't have an A7 chord. And so it turns out that we had to use a C sharp along with the F sharp in the key of E minor. We had no idea what was going on or why that was, except that was the two chords, so we had to use notes that were in the chords. Anyway, so we spent a lot of time jamming with Down by the River and in the key of A minor. And that was before we'd heard the percussive version that came out in 1971 when Four-Way Street was released from their 1970 tour. Anyway, the point of all this is that I grew up listening. Oh, I should get back to the good news, bad news story. I'll finish that later. Don't let me forget. Really felt like I learned. I can't even put an amount or a number of things on it from learning Neil Young songs. And so the first album of his I got was this one, 1969. Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. And it had those two tunes on it, after Cowgirl in the Sand, Down by the River, and Cinnamon Girl. And we had no idea what was going on in Cinnamon Girl, even who was singing it. It didn't sound like Neil. He was singing the second part. But we could figure out this power chord part. But couldn't figure out what else was going on. I had no idea about double drop D tuning at that point. It took a few years for that to register, that there were a lot of his songs. And you know what? The song that did that, this is a great segue. The song that did that was on the next album, After the Gold Rush. And that was down by Don't Let It Bring You Down. Without going into the tuning right now, but that progression, excuse me, that progression was done with two Ds, a D in the bass and a D on the top. And so that, when After the Gold Rush came out the next year, 1970, I think, we were playing along with stuff like... That was probably the first time... Probably the first time I ever played a major 7 chord, or realized that a major 7 chord is different from a 7 chord. It was probably because of Only Love Can Break Your Heart. Anyway, which is on that album, I think. Southern Man is on there, Birds, another beautiful tune. Some of the stuff that is fascinating about Neil Young is just the amount of different things he has. He has songs that have unusual chords. I never heard that chord before. It's a C chord, moved up a whole step. You hear that as the very first thing in Sugar Mountain. His songs have odd time signature changes. They have weird key changes. We start here. Which one am I doing? Starting with a D minor chord, then landing on a D major chord. That kind of stuff. That's just unheard of. Then he has great melodic strumming songs like... Now these all came out later. You know, the next album I picked up, we waited a long time for this one to come out. This had some of the coolest stuff on it I'd ever heard, and I think one of the, I missed Tell Me Why on After the Gold Rush. Another great finger picking, or great flat picking tune. Anyway, so Neil Young is heavy on my mind right now for all kinds of reasons, but a little of it is my connection with Mike and camp. And so I've been and we're coming out with a new pack of Neil Young songs today, or tomorrow probably. So depending on when you see this, and so it gave me a chance to revisit and kind of pick my 30 favorite songs of his from Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere and later, all the way up to, what's the latest one in there? I don't think, no, we didn't get to his big hit. He has a song out now that is a bit on the political side, so we'll reserve judgment on that one. But let's see, I think probably the latest one in there is From Harvest Moon or Rockin' in the Free World, that kind of stuff. So anyway, okay, enough about Neil Young, I think. Did I talk about other? His songs with percussive strum. Yeah, Cowgirl in the Sand. His melodic strumming songs, his really pretty songs like Birds and One of These Days. I mean, so he's got this sentimental side. Then, of course, he has the grungy side. There are a couple of albums I would say I don't play often. I would say I play never, but I've got them. Arc is one of them. Arc is one of the hardest ones to actually get into. 35 minutes of noise, avant-garde stuff. It's right up there with some of John Lennon's wedding album and stuff like that. Really hard to listen to. Trans, I wasn't so to all this computery stuff that was just seemed wrong at the time. Everybody's rocking. So now I'm going through my list of my least favorite Neil Young albums. Why am I doing that? I don't know. Stop. Okay. Now, what the big news I did have, the good news, bad news kind of story that I meant to get to was, I mentioned last week that we're going to have our spring camp is coming up on April 23rd, April 23rd to the 26th, and that we want to limit it to 16 to 18 people. Unfortunately, I have like 24 people returning campers that want to come, and I can't turn any of them down, which means or I have to, or we have to expand it. Don't want to do that. So we came up with another solution. We are going to do 2 consecutive weekends in April. We'll do the 23rd to the 26th and the 30th, April 30th to May 3rd, the next Thursday to Sunday. And that kind of, the big news about this is now, so the 20 or 22 people that have already committed, at least a third of them have now switched to the other week, which means there are going to be spots open soon in both camps. Online registration still won't happen until November 15th, if at all. but you can contact us and get put on the list of people that we will save a spot for. If you send an email to support@totallyguitars.com, it will find its way to me, and I will put you on the list. So if you want to come now, the big news about the second camp particularly is we're going to have a slightly different staff. Well, significantly different. Dave and Mike will not be there. So Dave Nachmanoff and Mike Mullins will not make it to that camp. In replacing one of them will be somebody who has been to one of our camps as a teacher many years ago. I believe it was 2015 or 16. No. 17 or 18 or 19. And somebody who's done a lot of lessons for us. Max Rich, my good friend and colleague Max Rich, will be on board for the April 30th camp. And he is just a guitar technician wizard extraordinaire. If you haven't seen any of Max's lessons where he breaks things down, you got to check them out. We have a lot of them here at Totally Guitars, and his attention to detail is just phenomenal. So Max will be joining us along with a vocal coach, harpist, guitarist, piano player friend of mine named Verlene. Verlene Shermer will be here for the second camp as well, bringing her talents to the proceedings of what we're doing around here. In particular, her vocal talents. And I don't have any videos. I did quite a few concerts with her many years ago. So anyway, so that's it. Our April 30th camp will have Max Rich and Verlene on staff, and possibly one other. I'm kind of in negotiations with another local teacher that might join us. So anyway, if you want to be in on either of those camps, get me an email, because they'll probably be sold out before November 15th is where I'm going with this. Okay, I think that's about it. Let me think about what else. Let me think about some other Neil Young tunes that are great. What I like about him is he plays, I say this, he's got so many different styles and so many different techniques. That's really unusual for somebody to have these, very gentle songs and then the rockin' tunes. His heavier duty rockers, Rockin' in the Free World and Cinnamon Girl and stuff like that, are all really, really cool. So I guess I just am reliving my childhood or my formative years as a guitar player through his tunes, because they always meant so much to me with every album that came out. Here's a story I have not told you. Mike and I, when we were still in high school, I had a project it was an 8th grade project, I think, and it was to write 6 Gothic songs. Now, I think what the teacher expected was it was a Gothic English class, I think, and the teacher expected us to take an existing song like Ichiku Park or Light My Fire or something, and write lyrics to it that would reflect something in the Gothic literature world. And I somehow missed that memo part, and I wrote 6 songs that had lyrics, and some of them were kind of really lighthearted. And one of them was called Vampire Blues. And Mike and I performed this at Fremont High School one time, maybe twice. I think we went there 2 years in a row for their concerts or a talent show or something that they had. And we even got requested to replay Vampire Blues because it was kind of a goofy look at life as a vampire. The only reason I bring that up is I don't have that album here, but right around that same time, Neil Young came out with an album called On the Beach that included his own version of Vampire Blues, completely different song. His was about being I'm a vampire baby sucking blood from the earth, was his environmentalist take on it. And it was just kind of a normal blues tune. Mine was, anyway, I felt robbed, I guess, when On the Beach came out and it had this tune in it. Okay, I think I should probably play something. What's another one of his that I could play and make up an instrumental version of? I've done that one too many times. think that's it for today. See you in October.